Morning, brothers and sisters. There are a lot of crows where I am. A lot of them. I hope that doesn't obscure the message. There's no one path on this journey that we walk. Everybody has a very unique path. Everybody was made the way they were for a reason. The meaning of life, you could say, is to find that reason. A seeker told a story of how he would speak to audiences long periods of time about walking in union with the spirit. And a lot of hippie types, like flower child types. And he noticed this one woman out in the audience. She's old. Looked like her name could be Hazel. You know. Doesn't really fit the rest of the crowd. But she's nodding along the whole time, as if she totally has seen it all firsthand for herself. So I guess she speaks to the speaker at the end. Says, "Everything that you said, I get from sewing. From sewing." That's just to say, if you judge a fish by how well it climbs a tree, the fish may go its whole life thinking it's an idiot. These are thoughts I keep with me on a daily basis, because I don't find myself fitting in the typical molds. And a lot of people fit themselves into the mold. It maybe doesn't fit naturally. But I like to think about this parable of a seed. Many prophets spoke in parables. So their meaning was outside of the grasp of language. A parable is like a riddle. So I personally like to think of a seed. You plant a seed, it becomes a flower, a tree, a bush, a vegetable, whatever it is to become. And where in that seed is the knowledge to become? Especially with something as large as a tree. It's interesting to ask, where is that knowledge? In a flower? There's a poem called Sunflower Sutra. A poem called Sunflower Sutra. And it's in this poem is described a flower growing against the wear and tear of a locomotive yard. And whose flower strives towards perfection, despite the fact that the chaos of growing in a locomotive yard will prevent it from ever reaching said perfection. And I think that's a pretty powerful metaphor for the way that we can look at humanity and ourselves. if we have something to strive towards, it doesn't matter what knocks us down, what holds us back. We should continue to strive. And it's almost as if we don't, we feel it, we suffer. To use a different word, there's something in life that we feel inside that we want to do, and we feel as though if we deny ourselves that thing, then perhaps we haven't realized the meaning of our life. And I'm sure many people go through their lives not really reaching for it, not really listening inside to what that thing might be. It's important that we listen to the voice inside to find peace in day-to-day life. It's important that we don't judge others based on our compartments of thought. Especially if we see somebody trying something new, something out of the ordinary. Because it's such human nature to put people in compartments. To see somebody reading Zen in the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, you assume, they're into the Buddhism. Or see somebody reading, Carlos Castaneda, and you're into shamanism. Sometimes people are interested in things without being those things. And I think it's an important distinction to make when we have compartments of thought so readily at our disposal, as it is our nature to try to just put things into compartments. A lot of the time we project our own worldview onto those people as well with our compartments. We think just by the way that somebody is dressed, that's the way they are. Hence a lot of punk rock is fashion choice, because it's a rejection. And I think it's important to know that we know as humans what hurts each other. And a lot of these punkers, they can understand that people don't like to see people who are dressed out of the ordinary, people who are dressed dark. And a lot of these punks understand this. A lot of people say it's for self-expression too, and I'm sure that's the case. But there is something interesting too, to come full circle on all of that, to find that people can't project anything onto you if you blend in somewhat, but just on the outside. And it's almost as if you have to do the extra work for them to get any sort of message from you, but some might be more open to it, and this is something I'm trying. I look around, I find the status quo. But people can't project anything. They say, you must not be a spiritual guy. You must not be a creative guy. And then they talk to me for a little bit because they've given me that chance. And you'd be surprised how often people just didn't let themselves open up based on outward appearances. So a few more things I want to talk about. I know it's after 10 minutes, but you try to walk with spirit. You try to find out where to see it. How to bring us into its presence. A lot of people will say, go out into nature. God is nature. And I think in a way they're right. You go into nature and you can feel the handiwork of God. But I don't necessarily think that is God. I think it's just a part of Him. And there's this C.S. Lewis thought. He talks a lot about Christianity, and he came around full circle from atheism, I guess. And I think a lot about this too is God's a lot like a parent who tries to punish their kid. It's not like he's this man exactly in the sky. I think that there's some problems with romantic language and translations and neutrality. But I do think if you violate this sort of law, bad things can happen. And I think that's what a lot of religions are trying to lay out, is a framework on how to avoid that unnecessary suffering in life. Now we go out into nature and we see things like, you know, the view of a valley from the top of a mountain, or you know, the sun's coming up over a lake, you know, and we think, oh, such majesty, such beauty. But when we see something like, you know, a hawk just picking apart a carcass at the bottom of that cliff, or, you know, something as terrifying as 1,000 crows in a swarm, just, we feel fear. We feel a sense of danger. Some people are transfixed by this, fascinated by this. And, well, maybe that's why they make stop signs red. I think it's interesting to think about it all as a system created by God, but not God. And we can learn from the animals, because it doesn't seem like there's any aspect of themselves that's resisting union. We as humans tend to resist. And so, if there's any word of advice I can give you today, is find a peaceful spot away from the noise, refrigerators, heaters, fans, air ducts, neighbors. Find some solitude and try to listen inside and out to find out what spirit is trying to tell you. Because whether you believe we have one lifetime, multiple lifetimes, our spirit transcends the body, or this is all there is, there's no getting out. There's no easy way out. You're put here for a purpose. And if you resist what that is, or fail to know what that is, you'll suffer. Well, that's everything.